The Haunted Ornament. It started as a simple tradition. The Jenkins family would buy a new ornament every Christmas to add to their growing collection. This year, they found a peculiar glass bauble at a local craft fair. It was unlike any ornament they'd owned before. Perfectly round with swirling red and gold patterns, and at its centre, a dark reflective core. When they hung it on the tree, it gleamed beautifully under the twinkling lights. Little Susie giggled, saying it looked like a tiny world. Her parents smiled, brushing it off as the whimsical imagination of a 7-year-old. But later that evening, as the family watched a holiday movie, Mr. Jenkins noticed something odd. The ornament, which they had placed near the middle of the tree, now hung higher, as if it had shifted. "Did someone move this?" he asked, holding it up. Mrs. Jenkins shook her head. "Maybe the branch shifted under the weight." They laughed it off, but as the night went on, the feeling of unease grew. Every time someone glanced at the tree, the ornament seemed slightly out of place. At first it was subtle, a little higher, a little to the left, but by bedtime it hung near the top of the tree, swaying gently despite there being no breeze. That night, Susie woke her parents with a whisper. "There's someone in the ornament," she said, clutching her stuffed bear. "Sweetheart, it's just your imagination," Mrs. Jenkins soothed, tucking her back into bed. But Susie was insistent. "I saw them. They were looking at me." The next morning, the family gathered around the tree to inspect the ornament. As they stared into its dark core, they saw what Susie meant. A shadowy figure seemed to shift within, just beneath the glass's surface. It was faint, but unmistakable. A shape with hollow eyes and a twisted grin. "Is this some kind of prank?" Mr. Jenkins muttered, feeling the chill of the glass under his fingers. But no one could explain it. That evening, things escalated. As the family sat in the living room, the lights on the tree flickered. The bauble began to sway violently, though nothing else moved. Then the figure inside became clearer, a dark silhouette pressed against the glass, its grin spreading wider as if it knew it was being watched. Terrified, Mr. Jenkins grabbed the ornament, intending to throw it away, but the glass burned his hand, forcing him to drop it. It didn't shatter. Instead, it rolled across the floor, coming to a stop upright, as if placed there deliberately. The tree lights went out completely, plunging the room into darkness. A faint, whispering voice filled the air, growing louder and more menacing. "You brought me in, and now you'll never be rid of me." The family huddled together, staring as the figure emerged from the ornament. It stretched, growing taller, its body shadowy and undefined, save for its glowing, hollow eyes and razor-sharp grin. The tree behind it seemed to wither, its needles turning black and brittle. The figure reached towards Susie, who screamed as her parents pulled her back. Desperate, Mr. Jenkins grabbed the fireplace poker and swung at the figure. It dissolved into a cloud of black smoke, retreating into the bauble, which began to glow faintly red. Without hesitation, the family threw the ornament into the fire. The glass hissed and cracked, releasing an ear-piercing scream that echoed through the house. The bauble shattered, the smoke dissipating into the chimney, leaving behind only silence. The tree, once blackened, seemed to return to normal. The lights flickered back on, and the room felt warm again. But the Jenkins family knew better than to celebrate. That Christmas morning, among the scattered presents, Susie found a small, perfectly round shard of glass on the floor. When she held it up to the light, she swore she saw hollow eyes staring back. The family didn't buy any new ornaments the following